Hello everyone, this is Sam from Language Atlas, and in this video I'd like to show you the Spanish B2 Anki deck. In this video we'll handle three things. First, I'll show you the course structure. Second, I'll show you the course content, and I'll do so by focusing on three decks so you can have a better and more practical understanding as to the exercises that you'll be doing with Anki. And third, I'll show you some brief editing options. Now in the description you can see the timestamps, so feel free to move around a little bit if you feel like doing that. Now before we begin, I'd like to highlight just one thing. You can see that there are actually two versions of Spanish. We have the European Spanish and the Latin American Spanish. Now the European Spanish just refers to the Spanish that is spoken in Spain, and you can actually choose which one you get when you actually get the Anki deck. So you have the choice of European Spanish or the Latin American Spanish. Having said that, please just stick with one of the two, whichever one you prefer. Now, whenever you're ready, just double click on whichever one you want. I've already done so, and here you can see that I've already loaded both Anki decks. You will see both of them in this video. I will first begin the first point of the course structure by showing the European Spanish B2, and then I'll move on to the Latin American Spanish B2. So let's get started. After having maximized this, you can see that you have a card types chapter. I will ignore this for now, but I'll come back to it later. And then you can see there are 5 chapters. You have chapter 1, pronouns. And there you will learn essentially how to say the one, ones who, or that. Essentially elke and its variations. And then you can see how to use it with prepositions and also how to use prepositions with loke in Spanish. Chapter 2, adjectives and adverbs. And here you will learn how to say not at all, and you will also learn a little bit about the position of adjectives in Spanish. Okay, how do you actually position them? Where are they supposed to go? You can see them all different kinds of variations. Chapter 3, verbs. And you can see that there's actually quite a lot of it. We have the first tense, which is the future perfect. And here you can learn how all regular verbs are conjugated, how irregular verbs are conjugated, and of course when to use the future perfect. The second tense, the conditional perfect tense, and here you can again see the same structure where you have, okay, when do you actually use it, and also all regular verbs and how to use irregular verbs in this tense. Then we go to, let's say, tense/mood, and these are all subjunctive. The first one is the imperfect subjunctive, and again, it's always essentially the same structure where you have, okay, when do you use it, how do you do it with regular verbs, and then you have some irregular verbs. Then we have the second one, which is the present perfect subjunctive. And again, when do you use it and how do you use it with regular verbs? And then you have it, how you use it with irregular verbs. And finally, we have the past perfect subjunctive. And then when do you use it? And then you conjugate verbs. We go to chapter 4, idioms. It's a really big one. I'm not going to go all over them one by one. Essentially, there are certain idioms that you have to know for B2. Think of certain tenses, like for example poder and preterit versus imperfect, same for querer and ser. Also, you will learn a bit about how to say that you like someone in a romantic sense. It's a little bit different than perhaps you've been used to in English. You can say that you can use the present tense to refer to certain future actions, but you have to use future time phrases. Essentially all things that you need to know for Spanish B2 in terms of idioms, you can do it here. Chapter 5, articles and nouns. You learn about how to use the neuter article lo to refer to clauses, verbs, and adjectives and adverbs. So that's that for the European Spanish version. I'll minimize this, and now I'd like to show you the Latin American Spanish B2. So I'll start by maximizing the Latin American Spanish B2. And you can see essentially that's the same structure. Now you may be wondering, okay, well, what's the difference between the Latin American one and the European Spanish one? And the difference is what's inside it. So when you go to chapter 1 and you say like how to use prepositions with loco in Spanish, the sentences inside are different. So a big example that I can give you is that in Latin America they use vosotros. So all the examples that use vosotros in European Spanish you will not find here. The sentences inside are different. The audio is different. So in a nutshell, structurally they're the same, but the sentences inside, the audio, examples, everything, those things, that is what differs. Now having said that, I would like to get started with point number 2, is that I'd like to show you a bit more on course content, namely with 3 decks. So I'll show you 3 decks so you can have a better understanding of what it is that you'll actually be doing. I'll use 2 decks from European Spanish and 1 deck from Latin American Spanish, and this will give you a good understanding of everything. I'll show you the first deck by maximizing the European Spanish B2 Anki deck. I'll then go to chapter 3 verbs. Then we have over here tense 2 conditional perfect tense, and I'll go to all regular verbs. Click on it, study now, and then this is what you see. You see a Spanish sentence, there are 2 blanks. You see a verb which you need to conjugate in the conditional perfect, and then you see an English translation of that sentence, and then you see a picture of a printer. Your job is to know what goes over here in these 2 blank areas. So first question type for you is you see a blank area or blank areas, and you need to know what goes there.
Si me lo hubieras dicho antes, ya habría imprimido los documentos.
So here we have the answer. Here's an English translation of it. And if you click on this,
si me lo hubieras dicho antes, ya habría imprimido los documentos.
You can hear the Spanish sentence being spoken. You can also press the R key. Down below we have the way to conjugate it. So you can see haber in the present conditional. We have the past participle. And over here, a way to form it. And again, down below, the regular verbs conjugation method. And essentially that's it. If you forget how to conjugate it, there's a method. There's a link to the website. And if you ever get lost, you can just follow the method, and that's that. So the first way, know what's in the blank areas. I'll now show you the second way in which you will be tested.
¿Crees que? Seguro. Mis padres. No te. Supuse. Creí.
So it's the same sentence again, but now there's a blank field, and you need to enter the correct answer in this blank field. I've done so now, and let's see what happens when we click on enter.
Si me lo hubieras dicho antes, ya habría imprimido los documentos.
Now you can see that I typed in the correct answer, but what if I made a mistake? What if I said this, for example?
¿Crees que María habría estudiado?
Now you can see that Anki corrects your mistakes for you. You can see what is in red is wrong, and you can see the correct answer over here. And I made another version over here for you as well. So whatever happens, you'll always have a correct answer for you. And again, there are other questions like this. Now I'd like to show you the third question type.
Seguro. Mis. No. Supo. Creí.
The third question type, you see a Spanish sentence and you need to know the English translation of it.
Si me lo hubieras dicho antes, ya habría imprimido los documentos.
And then for the fourth question type,
¿Crees? Seguro. Mis padres. No te. Supo. Creí.
you see an English sentence and you need to know the Spanish translation of that sentence.
Si me lo hubieras dicho antes, ya habría imprimido los documentos.
So these are the 4 ways in which you can be tested. I'd now like to show you another deck. I'll close this, I'll go to idioms, and then I'd like to go to this one. Hope that. How you can say hope that. Again, you can see it's the same format. You have 2 blanks, there's a sentence, and you see an English translation, and there's a picture.
Espero que tengamos una tarde tranquila.
And you can see that over here in the explanation area, you can see that to say that hope that something happens or will happen, esperar que, plus verb in the subjunctive. And it's your job essentially to do this for all these sentences. Let's do another one. Again, same concept. Sentence, 2 blank areas, English translation, and a picture.
Los empleados esperan que su salario suba en los próximos meses.
And essentially, that's how it goes. In this scenario, you should have known that it's esperar que. So the rest is given. So it kind of tricks you a little bit, sees if you actually know how to say hope that. So there are different ways in which you'll be tested. One more.
El profesor espera que todos los alumnos entreguen el trabajo a tiempo.
And again, it was a question where you had to know it's esperar que. So sometimes it's esperar que, other times it's subjunctive, and then there are also question types in which is both. So every time it's a surprise. Now, those are the two decks from European Spanish. I also like to go to one deck from Latin American Spanish so you can see the difference. So I'll just maximize this one, and then I will show you one that I really wanted to show, which is this one. Not at all. Study now. And as I mentioned before, you see a Spanish sentence, you see an English sentence, and then there's a picture, and you have to know what goes over here.
No nos queda nada de comida, tenemos que ir a hacer la compra.
Did you notice the difference in audio? I'll play it one more time.
No nos queda nada de comida, tenemos que ir a hacer la compra.
Already you can tell the difference, and the reason that there's a difference between the two decks in terms of audio is because the Spanish that is spoken in Spain is not the same as the Spanish that is spoken in Latin America. The pronunciation is different, and whenever you learn a new language, pronunciation is so incredibly important. Hence, I really recommend using the audio function a lot. And again, as before, you can see the explanation area over here. You can see the answer, nada de, and then you can see whatever it was that you don't have anything of. In this example, it was food, so you have to go shopping. I'd like to show you another example. Do you know the answer? Let's see.
No tengo nada de efectivo. ¿Puedo pagar con tarjeta?
You don't have any cash at all, or I don't have any cash at all. Can I pay by card? And again, the audio is what's so important here.
No tengo nada de efectivo. ¿Puedo pagar con tarjeta?
And the last one, Spanish sentence, 3 blanks, and then the English sentence.
Que te pregunte por tu mujer no tiene nada de particular.
And essentially that's it. There's more examples if you go down. You can hear the audio again if you click this. But I just want to give you a good sense of what it's like to use the Latin American deck. The differences are, of course, no vosotros here, vosotros is here. Pronunciation is different, so the sentences are different. In terms of structure, they're the same, but what's inside the decks is what is different. Now I'll move on to my third point, is that I'd like to show you some brief editing options. So one of the things that I showed you before was the card types deck, but then I said I'll ignore it, but I'll come back later to it. Well, now is later. I'll go to browse so I can have a better look at it. And when I go to European Spanish B2, I see over here the card types deck. This one was also there, of course, in the Latin American one. So I'll go to the normal one first, and you can see here that there are 4 card types. And these are essentially the things that we studied before. 4 ways that you'll be tested. There was a blank area, you need to fill in what's inside the blank area, or areas. There's a second one where you had to type in the blank field. The third one where you saw something in Spanish and had to translate it to English. And the fourth one where there was something in English and you had to translate it to Spanish. Now, for a lot of people, 4 ways to be tested is quite a lot. And some people don't like translation. So for those people, there's also a different way to be tested. And that's the beginner-friendly one. So you have just a blank field and you need to know what goes there. And then you have the second one, which is a blank field you need to type in the blank field. Now, this is what the default deck will be like. And this is also the method that I personally prefer. I'm not a big fan of translating, but I do know that there are some people that like it. Thus, this method was also put in. So this is just to show you, hey, what's the difference between the two methods. And now I'd like to show you how you can switch between either being tested with 2 card types or with 4 card types, and 4 card types being the translation options too. So just hold and move it up, go to browse, and then you can go to European Spanish B2 or Latin American B2, whichever one you have chosen. Right mouse click, change node type, and I've selected them all with Control or Command A. So new node type, you can go to the beginner of one, language atlas beginner friendly card. Okay. And you can see there's now 2 versions of every sentence. But what if you regret your choice and you want to go back to 4? Select Control A, Command A, change node type, go to the language atlas card. Okay. And you can see that for every sentence there are 4 ways that you can be tested. Personally, I prefer just the beginner friendly one. I'll use that one too, but if you do like translation, then please stick with this one. Finally, I like to give one more piece of advice. If you go to this icon and you click over here and you go to options, you can change the amount of new cards that you do per day. So you can change this to 20, for example. You can go to reviews and you can change the maximum amount of reviews that you do. You can increase it to 30, for example. You can see over here that now this is changed to 20. My advice for you would be pick a low number in the beginning, then move upwards. The reason for this is that whenever you learn a new language, it's very important to create a habit. And if you do a lot in the beginning, there's the chance or perhaps the risk that you're overwhelming yourself and you just stop studying. So just start with a low number and then go up. Now this is it for this video on the Spanish B2 Anki deck. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, please let me know. Write them in the comments or send me an email. Please go to languageatlas.com for everything that you need to have. I'll put the links for everything in the description as well as for this Anki deck. Again, I hope you enjoyed it. Good luck with learning Spanish and enjoy the rest of your day. Goodbye.